Hello everyone, this is Guy and Helmers from Genome Studios, here with another O3DE intensive. Now today we're going to be covering prefabs and spawning. So what a prefab is basically a collection of entities that you define into a file that you can then spawn any number of times, any number of places on demand. So let's get creating a prefab. So let's say you have a pillar over here, and you want to make a little collection of pillars for decorative purposes. So I'm going to make a few pillars. And then what you can do is you can highlight them all, create prefab, and then we'll call it not pillar, but pillar collection. So here we go. Now we've got our prefab here. So you can select the prefab itself, move it around, or if you want to edit it, you can double click on the bar and it'll change the interface to have bright highlight, and you can still see the pieces inside. So let's say you want to reposition this guy over here. So now you can, and this will now propagate to all the prefabs. So you can know that you did some editing because over here on the corner, pillar collection prefab will have a little asterisk saying you want to save. So you can click Control S, and now it saves the prefab. While we're here, I'm going to select this wrapper, and it says the name is pillar collection. I'm going to call it pillar collection wrapper. And again, there's the highlight or the asterisk saying we've edited, but what you can do is you can also leave the prefab, and you'll notice that the highlight is still there saying that it's edited. And so if I save, it'll say, oh, there's a file that's unsaved, and that's our prefab. So I can click yes, and now our pillar collection wrapper is the way it is. So you can very simply, if you're just doing level editing and you want your pillars, you can go into your file, take your pillar collection, and you can drag it in. Now if we see that the wrapper actually went in the center of all of the pieces that were present, so what we can do is just go into the edit again, extend the little thing, select our pillars, and bring them up. And we can save that, and we can go back to the editor. So now again, I'm going to just do that, and we can just drag it in, and now you've got your pillars kind of the way you want them, however you want them. Let's look at something quite fun. If you go to the very top of your level, it's got a big blue bar, and you'll see inside it says tutorial 1 controller.prefab, and it's like, what? Well, levels themselves are actually prefabs. So what you can do is say go new level, and we're going to go additive level, and just for the sake of it, we'll go default level. I'm going to just say additive level 1 just in case. So now we've got a level here. So I'm going to do a quick little thing. I'm going to go here, create entity. We're going to call it building mock. I'm going to add a mesh to it, and then we're going to make box the mesh. We're going to add non-uniform scale, and I'm going to go 10 by 10 by 30. So now we've got a building mock. I'm going to lift it up to be building height, and then we're going to go off to wrap our other scene with buildings. Now, if you're having trouble, working on a scene like this, because the clipping kind of cuts off half of what you're working on, you can also create an entity, and we're going to call this level edit cam. We're going to change the status to editor only, so then this makes it so that when you run the game, it won't be present, this camera, to compete with your regular camera or what have you. We're going to give it a camera component, and then over here on the viewport camera selector, you can highlight your level edit camera, and you can fly around and use it exactly like you would the editor camera, but as you can see, the clipping plane is not cutting off your whole world. So getting back to things, here's the center of the world. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to take these buildings, I'm going to just duplicate them. We're going to just wrap our level with them. Bear with me here. So then, we've got our level wrapped with building mocks. I'm going to now delete the Atom default environment. So we have no sky, no camera, no anything. We've just got our buildings. And we'll see here that our level is called level. It's additive level 1 prefab. But I'm going to, again, change this wrapper name to additive level prefab wrapper. And now we can click save, and we've got this level now. So let's go back to the original, and we've got our pillar collection here. And let's get to spawning. So very first and foremost, we're going to spawn our pillars. I've made what I'm calling the multi-root prefab spawner. It doesn't have to be so specific, but I made a script. So we're going to look at it real quick here. And so on graph start, we're going to create a spawn ticket. Now, what a spawn ticket is the actual thing that you pass into the spawner, and it'll handle spawning what's inside the spawn ticket. So we have our spawn ticket, and I have a variable called prefab that I'm make a ticket out of. So what a prefab is actually what's called a spawnable. So if you go spawnable, it's a spawnable script asset ref. So then we're going to call it bonus prefab. We can make the initial value source from component, and that allows us to then go outside of this script, and we're going to see on our multi-root prefab that we've got the bonus prefab and the prefab. Right now it's pointing to a prefab that I deleted, so I'm going to just very quickly, just for clarity, just get rid of our bonus prefab here. And it's as simple as just getting our pillars collection and dragging it onto that asset. You can actually see what's happening by uncollapsing the file, and you'll see this. It's pillar collection.spawnable inside our pillar collection prefab. So let's get back to the multi-root prefab. We've made our ticket. We've passed the ticket into the spawn, and I did a little bit of tutorializing here. So when the spawner creates our prefab, it's going to effectively do what we were doing, drag the pillar collection in. We're going to have our pillar collection wrapper, and we're going to have our pillars inside, right? So if I then look at this, I've get a spawned entities list. I'm getting the first element in the list. I'm just getting its name, and we're saying adding prefab to level, and the value is going to be its name. And then I get the children of that first element, and I'm going to loop through them, and I'm going to say, these are root entities in the prefab. So I'm probably giving it away here what we're going to see. But if I go into the console and I clear it, and let's see, I just want to make sure that this is all, if I click play, I can exit right away here, and it'll say added prefab pillar collection wrapper, and then entity pillar 3 times are inside the prefab wrapper. So as we can see, in order to actually get to the inside guts of the thing, we actually have to step inside of the wrapper to deal with it. So we now know how to spawn a prefab, and we know how to use what we've spawned to actually do things. So, you know, I can, what I did here was I made it so that the Y position is minus 20. So if we go into the thing, it actually spawns them 20 meters behind me. So then that's the value of being able to edit the wrapper itself, because the wrapper will now move everything accordingly as it is. So that's great. We've got our multi-root, but now I have a level spawner. So it's going to be almost identical to our multi-root prefab spawner. I basically just duplicated the script. Again, we've got a prefab spawnable script reference. I'm calling it the additive level. We're spawning it in, we're just spawning into the world, and I'm getting the first element, which is the level, and I'm saying added level to scene. So I'm going to just disable this right here, and we're going to see how this works. So I have my script canvas. It's the additive level spawner. It needs a level. So if we go over to our project, so this is, in this case, O3DE intensives, there's a levels folder that most of the levels will be in, and we've got additive level 1 that I made for this tutorial. And if you see, additive level is just another prefab, and it's just got additive level spawnable. So similar to everything else, I can just drag our level into the add level, and now we're going to be able to make a ticket for it and spawn it. Being able to spawn levels like this is really effective for things like world streaming, where you can break out your world into dozens and dozens of level pieces that you can, of course, edit themselves and stuff like that. And then, basically like a treadmill, you just spawn your levels ahead of the player or behind the player, etc. So now we'll start our project, or our level, I guess, and we'll see what's going on. So actually, did I stop my level spawner from? No, okay, it's going to say added level, right? So if I click play, now we've got our buildings encircling us, and we've got our little prefabs behind us. So everything's working pretty well. I'm going to exit off, and you can see here, added level, additive level, prefab wrapper to scene. Again, if we go out and to that level, that is literally the top. You know, this is in more complicated game systems, like if you have a terrain system and stuff, you actually can add components to the level itself, which are very unique, specific level components. And that's all encased in this level. So let's go back to our tutorial level. And I'm going to start showing you a bit of the nuances of things. Now, let's say we've got our multi-root spawner. We just want to delete our spawner once we've done the spawning. So ignore this receive ticket, but we're going to do in 5 seconds, we're going to destroy the spawner. Now, I've already done this. I've got spawn parent here, and I'm actually spawning our pillars decoration to our spawn parent. This is, this is set with our multi-root prefab to the Atom default environment entity here. It's just got our sun, our sky, our level, our ground, and stuff like that. Now the reason for this is so that if I delete my prefab spawner, I'm not going to delete the pillars inside of it, because the pillars are actually going to be inside of something else. So if I click play and we watch, Well, okay, I'm going to move on to the level spawner as well. Oh, I didn't save, that's probably why. If we go to the additive level spawner, same thing. I'm going to enable this, which means in 5 seconds I'm going to destroy my level spawner, and the level that got spawned will be inside that spawn parent, which is going to still be our Atom default environment. So if we click play, oh, there they go. And the pillars went too. So this is because this spawner has a reference to our ticket that we just created. And if no entities, nothing external has a reference to the ticket will delete itself. And part of deleting a ticket is that it'll delete everything that it was responsible for spawning. So in this case, we've created the level, and we have a ticket for the level. We've spawned it, and now we've got a ticket and the spawned level. And so if you destroy the ticket, so too does the level get destroyed. So a solution around that is to make something to hold it. So in a lot of cases, on your spawner, you could just have, an array, and the array will be ticket, entity spawn ticket. You can have tickets, tickets, create that, and you can just, I'm going to just go like this and go add element at end. We put our tickets here, and we get our ticket from the spawn. And let's say we move on. So now we're adding the ticket to our list, but we're still going to destroy our spawner. So then if we go like this, it still deletes the things. So you don't want to destroy your spawner if you're going to carry the ticket inside of it. But what you can also do is what I have already had set up, is you can make a receive ticket event and point towards something that will receive the ticket. So what I have is, on my Atom default environment, I have a ticket holder. And all I have is, when I receive the receive ticket event, I have the ticket sent to me, and I add the element to the end of this array. So exactly the same as the spawner, but the array will be somewhere else. Making the event, you just open recent. I have an event called receive ticket. It takes a parameter called ticket, like named ticket, and of type entity spawn ticket. And so what I can then do is, as we've seen here, I can send receive ticket to my Atom default environment. I added a little thing called hold the tickets or not, which will, it's because I moved the tiles, which will just make it so that the ticket holder won't carry the ticket if I send the message. So we look at our Atom default environment, it's set to not hold tickets. Still going to show it. The list doesn't take the tickets, so then there's no reference to the ticket. But now, finally, we'll actually hold the ticket in our ticket holder, and then we're going to launch. Ta-da! Our level stays, it remains, and our pillars, they also tried to make the receiver receive it. So here we go, finally. We know how to spawn prefabs, we know how to spawn level prefabs, we know how to prevent them from accidentally getting deleted, and now we can do stuff with them. Now, the only thing I didn't cover was a lot of the ways people use prefabs are to make a singular thing, a non-multi-root prefab. So I have one made here. Back in my assets, in spawning, I have a rocket. And a lot of the times we want to have a projectile, spawn it, and make sure that it flies instead of vanishing for no reason. So I'm just going to cover what the rocket is. It's the core root rocket, the singular root. It's got a script called the rocket, and it's got rigid body so that I can make it fly through space. And then inside I've got my rocket model. That's just the capsule, the rocket fins. These don't have collision or anything. This isn't actually a fully realized projectile. But here we go. I've gone in to edit it, and I named the wrapper rocket prefab wrapper, and inside is the actual rocket. So a little bit of programming overhead. In my player controller, I added basic input bindings. I added fire, and it takes one event, and it's mouse button left click. So you're pulling the trigger of the gun, and you're calling fire. My controller that takes my inputs registers fire and sends spawn rocket to something. Spawn rocket is on my actual unit, and it is here. So I made on fire rocket launcher script, and what it takes is a rocket prefab, which is the rocket we want to shoot, and a spawn point, which is going to be the end of your gun muzzle. And so exactly how we have been doing with all the spawners, when I get the spawn rocket, I make a ticket event for the rocket. I spawn the rocket at my rocket spawn point, which is the end of the gun. I get the first element that was spawned, which is our rocket, and I tell it to launch. And here I just get the name and I say launching the rocket. So we now have our send the message to launch. We have the thing that takes the message to launch. Now it's telling the rocket itself to launch. Now, usually you just have the rocket just start and do its own thing, but this is a tutorial. So if we go to rocket and we open it up, when I get the launch message, I get my forward, whatever direction I'm pointed, and I just set my velocity to forward times 10 to make it fly. So, you spawn the rocket, it comes out of your muzzle, it goes and flies forward. So we're going to start looking at that here. I'm going to just double check here. Yep. So I'm going to close that, get rid of that prefab. On my unit, I do have my rocket is the rocket prefab. My rocket spawn point is on my character. So if we look here, my unit is this one. And then my rocket spawn point is just forward and up. Forward by 1 unit and up by 1.3. It's all set. So then if I click play and I move my character and I click shoot, well, what's wrong? My rocket doesn't fire. It spawns, but there's something going on. So if we look at the console, and I've been firing my rockets all the way at the bottom, we're going to see, launching rocket prefab wrapper. Now, we've already seen this in the multi-root prefab. In a lot of instances, up till this version of the editor, which is 24.09.1, you'd have to get the first element, get children, and then get the first element of children, which would finally be the rocket. So we have the rocket wrapper, then we have the rocket, and then we can send the launch message. But what we can do instead now, which is a wonderful little feature, is I can drag my rocket out here to edit it. And what I can do is select the wrapper that we named rocket prefab wrapper and change its status from universal to editor only. So what this does behind the hood, I'm going to save because our rocket hasn't been resaved, is when the spawner spawns the prefab, it'll go, oh, the wrapper isn't meant to exist anymore. So it'll take the wrapper away and it'll give you your list of entities inside the wrapper. So in the sense of our fire rocket, the first element will actually be not the wrapper, but the rocket inside. So if I click delete, The only thing I changed, I didn't change our logic. I'm still sending the first message. I'm only telling the wrapper to not exist now. Now we get into the game, and let's see. I probably didn't save things. Oh, launching rocket. What's going on here? Oh, I think it's because it's rocket prefab, rocket spawn point, get first element, launch, launching rocket. It's funny whenever these things need our editing, it's helpful to do that. Okay, we've got our unit. He has rocket spawn point, asset rocket, on fire rocket launcher. Gonna clear. Let's see. Launching rocket. What's going on here? I'm gonna go into rocket. Let's go print rocket got launch. Put that in here. Gonna save player controller. Of course, you're doing a tutorial and none of it's gonna work. All right. Let's see. Ooh. Got a huge bunch of getting a launching rocket. Get first element, launch to the first element. The first element's name is rocket. Let's see here. I'm going to just start this launch. Receive launch. Good. Rocket got launched. Save. On fire Gonna delete launch. Go launch. I'm gonna send launch. And we're gonna take the source from the first element, which is the rocket. I'm gonna file save. I'm gonna file save. We're gonna go here. We're gonna grab the rocket prefab. Gonna unwrap it here. Look at the rocket. We've got rocket. Gravity is not enabled. I'm just scrubbing it to see if that will take things. I'm going to leave the prefab here. Launching rocket. But for some reason our rocket isn't getting the message. This is vexing. So let's go to rocket events. I guess I'm going to save this, and when you save that, it makes all of our things dirty. Gonna save everything. File save. File save. Player, fire rocket, rocket. Huh. This is absolutely not the way it's supposed to go. Our entity is just not getting the message. On fire rocket launcher. Oh, you know what it might be? Let's see. we're going to make a variable here called last launched. We're going to set last launched. Oops. We're going to set last launched here. Oh, come on. Convert to reference. Last launched. Then we're going to go time delay. And we're going to go units ticks. Let's say 1 tick. We're going to go on no, we're going to go done. And we're going to launch last launched. And we're going to get the entity name from last, convert to reference, from last launched. For some reason, our rocket is not getting, so I'm going to go on graph, start, save rocket. Launching rocket. I'm getting the spawn reference. Let's go into our rocket prefab. I'm going to delete our component with the rocket script. Going to go script canvas. Going to go rocket script. Going to click save. Going to exit out of the prefab. Click save. There we go. So the script wasn't updating with the new events and stuff like that. I probably didn't need to do almost any of the other stuff. It was probably just that prefab itself. So I'm going to get rid of on graph start. I'm going to go on fire rocket launcher. I'm going to get rid of our last launched. And I'm going to get rid of the time delay. I'm going to convert this to value. I'm going to launch. And I'm going to get entity name from the convert to value. Here we go. On fire rocket launcher, all good. And we still are launching. We're getting a stack trace though. Yeah, this is fine. So there you go. Now you know how to problem solve issues of sending messages, but also transfer an event to actually the root entity instead of the wrapper itself. And so then you can start extending that. You can have spawners that handle all sorts of things. You can have spawners that, do our projectiles. And you can handle when and where you want to delete them. So we can, of course, say we no longer want to preserve these environment things, and they will go away as we intended. So thanks for watching. I hope this gives you some clear understanding of how to use spawns and prefabs. Good luck. Have fun. See ya.